All right, let's open the meeting. A lot of work to do. All right, so why don't we start with Department Head Sam? You want to lead us out?
Got a bulging pile of these now.
These are receivables as of this afternoon, showing what we have outstanding for taxes.
Yeah.
The top three folks on page one, the 2022 LO1, are going to be the folks coming to deed this spring.
Yep.
So
We've done that with the middle one before, and we on this
yes, and she's come in and
pays it, doesn't she?
usually the bank comes to pay it,
Yeah.
but she's aware of this problem. So
How is this, compared to other years, Sam, as far as outstanding still at this time?
usual.
Usual? Usual's good. I mean, it's a lot, but it's usual.
Oh, for outstanding totally?
Yeah.
I thought you were just not about me.
Oh, no.
Okay, I think. Because there's a lot of people in this place that bills at the end of the year, or they're not thinking about it until after Christmas.
Okay.
The CPO Fellowship has both an unpaid first half and second half bill, and we haven't heard from them, so.
We've had no communication on any.
Tax collector office, no indication of how they're gonna pay it,
Yeah.
if they're gonna pay it.
Huh, all right.
Plus, they got their, when did we do their whole thing with the religious exemption? That was back in, yeah.
April.
Yeah. Questions for Sam?
Not on this, are we making a decision tonight on the voting location, or?
Yes, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Tentatively, we're doing, it's down on old business, but if you wanna talk about it, say it.
Let's.
Yeah.
Sam, I understand consensus is Old Town Hall. Is that?
I guess so, the
Okay.
selectmen are obligated to provide the place, so
Yeah.
it's your decision.
Select Board?
Yeah, I'd like to come.
Yeah.
I like it too.
Okay.
It's cozy.
That was easy.
It'll be fine.
They roll this year, I think, you're right. But yeah,
Yeah.
Old Town Hall.
In that vein, going forward, HB 1264, which is the big marshmallow accessible voting bubble.
That is under old business too.
Yeah. The pilot program is being rolled out by the Secretary of State's office, where they will this year loan us the tablet for us to do this.
Okay.
But that's part of why we're looking for a capital reserve, is that they're going to eventually tell us we can buy a machine
Have they
before
given,
2026.
okay, there's
For the
Two
midterms.
backwards. Okay.
So we don't know how much that's gonna cost, we don't know what that's gonna look like, we
Yeah.
don't know what kind of state funds are available.
You're looking for money at town meeting though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what that's gonna really look like.
Mhm.
This year at town meeting for March of 2025,
Yep.
they are requiring the towns to pay for the coding of that machine. So that's a $600 per election, meaning per ballot,
Okay,
cost that they're going to be incurring for us.
okay.
A ballot is considered up to 5 pages. So
Okay.
that should cover us for the town officer's ballot and
Yeah.
for the zoning ballots.
That
should
one's
cost
$600 fee.
$600.
Okay.
However, they are going to be requiring the school district to be a separate $600.
Okay.
Up to 5 pages, same deal.
Okay.
So the question is, who pays that $600 for the school ballot? Is the town or is the school district?
I think fairness would be the school district.
I didn't think school
That would be
district.
my
Yeah.
choice.
And we both towns fund the school district, so we're still paying for it, in effect.
So I will contact the school district and advise them that you feel that it's their responsibility to pay for this.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yes, please.
Questions for me?
Who was saying that who levied that fine, the just state?
The state of New Hampshire.
Okay, thank you.
HB 1264.
HB 1264, okay, thank you.
Ted, nothing further? Okay, thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Chief Karate, you wanna go next? Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
You? One for you.
White out, I haven't seen white out in
It's
years.
better than wasting paper every
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
Very commendable.
Alright, so from December 16th to today, we had 21 incidents, 6 arrests, 4 accidents, 147 citations, which is traffic stops.
Yeah.
679 calls for service. State police assisted with 5 calls and 14 hours of training between the 5 of us.
Great. Any problems on the highway with ice or anything?
No, we don't typically get too many calls on the highway unless state police is tied up elsewhere, then we do get calls up there.
I got nothing. Ted?
No.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you want us to know?
Encumbrances.
Ah,
The police department's encumbering some funds this year, tasers and body cameras. And just wanted to, you have an encumbrance thing to sign here,
Okay.
and didn't know if you had any questions on that. Justin, just want to give a brief overview of what you need
So
to do?
the cameras, we're not asking for new cameras, we're just asking to continue the payments for evidence.com, which is Axon, to continue to store the videos.
What are these from?
Excuse me?
What are the cameras for?
So the cameras are our body
Oh,
cameras.
okay, yeah.
So everything that we video gets put into a cloud storage, and we pay Axon to store them, because they, essentially, we plug them in, they download automatically, we categorize them, and it stores them.
How long do we keep that stuff?
Depends on the call, so like arrest, we keep until I manually delete them, which is essentially never. Basic call for service is 30 days, traffic stops, we extended it out 3 years, because back in COVID, courts got so backed up, we needed to hold on to them longer. But if we end up getting rid of this, now we have to take all that stuff that we have and kind of find somewhere else to put it.
Yeah.
We don't have right now, so that costs more money. We get new cameras, I believe it's in March, from the last program that we had. So all we're paying for with the cameras is essentially the storage and the user fees. As far as the tasers go, Taser certifies their equipment 5 years. We've had these for 5 years now, so if something goes wrong, Taser won't back us up on it. So if we go to use it, it doesn't work properly, and somebody gets hurt, we're on our own. That's why
I'm
we're.
guessing there's probably no such thing as a taser repair anyway.
There is, so
Is there?
if it was to break,
Yep.
I can send it back to Taser, if they can fix it, they'll fix it.
Yep.
And if not, then it's no longer under
Yeah.
warranty.
But it's always dealing with the manufacturer,
Yes.
no?
Yeah, there's
third
no-
party. Yeah,
There's no third party for me to send them to.
okay.
Hal, while I'm thinking of it, do we have anything about body cam video storage in our municipal record committee
I
files
don't remember.
list? Because it seems like we should, I don't know if they would go through it or us, but that's something to be decided. Who keeps it, who decides, and who deletes it?
It's probably just asking you to
Yes.
add a couple
Yeah.
extra lines to say when you keep things.
So basically, on evidence.com is it's categorized, so I go in and create the category, determine how long it stays. There's certain ones that permanently, basically manual deletion, so it stays until someone goes and deletes it. Like I said, the calls for service is set for 30 days, traffic stops, warnings, I think it was 90 days, summonses, now 3 years, because we had to extend that.
Yeah.
Issue. And there's a bunch of other categories that I don't know off the top of my head, but I went in when we got the program and created all those.
Okay, great, thank you. One more thing to add to the list.
Yeah. Good? Yeah.
All right,
All right,
great, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Gamache, yes.
How you doing? Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Ooh, fancy.
Just a little like
Little late,
yeah.
I'll address that as we go down, what that sheet's all about. Okay, so starting at the top, we finished 2024 with 2024 with 386 emergency calls for service. With a 13% increase over 2023. Earlier in the year, we were trending close to 50% over, so everything kind of averaged out a little bit. We're 28% over 2022. So almost every department is trending up. So, you know, as society ages, as, you know, things get busier and stuff like that, the calls increase. So we're not the only ones. And we are able to handle it under the current complement and staffing that we have, so. Out of those calls this year, we had 19 fires, and that's car fires, chimney fires, grass fires, all that stuff, 19 fires in town. We received mutual aid in town 59 times. That's not including Pennacook coming in and Belmont coming in under contract. That's, you know, a call that maybe we don't get anybody out or we need assistance on a call. We went to other towns 19 times when they needed assistance.
Chief, is there a percentage of mutual aid as how many of those calls, of your calls, need mutual? It's 59 calls, but is that a lot? Percentage what?
No, it's some of those, some of the calls that we're already on and we needed additional resources. Probably, there's maybe 10 of them where nobody got out and on a routine call, like the self-storage alarm at 3 in the morning, and we have to roll another community go into that deal, so, yeah. So we work hard and take a lot of pride in maintaining a positive relationship with the adjoining towns and meeting with them monthly and you know, when we need them, they don't hesitate and vice versa. So, and, you know, we've got a good relationship with all the towns. And included to all those calls, we had 196 trainings, inspections, demonstrations, and all that stuff. I put everything else in that part, but they could break it down upon request if needed. Noteworthy incidents since the last time I met you, last meeting, we had 2 chimney fires. One was close to breaking through into the house because of an unmaintained older chimney. Caught it just in time as it scorched some of the timbers. We had last week an interesting call. A lady broke her water on 93 South during the day with twins. So we went there and we packaged and we didn't deliver on the highway because she wasn't ready to deliver yet, but we packaged and sent her to Concord, which I believe they sent her to Boston.
So this is I-93 pregnancy, not 193
Yeah,
pregnancy. I was like, wow.
That's
Okay,
I-93,
got it.
yeah.
We get to name any of the kids or what?
Well, she's pregnant with twin girls, and we encouraged her to name one Hervette.
I'm guessing that was probably a firm.
Not quite sure if they did that or not.
Yeah, I was almost Alfreda after my dad. It's not a good name.
We went to the Boston fire a couple of weeks ago, that lumberyard, that trust, manufacturing place. We spent about 5 hours there. We got a crew of 5 or 6 out there for that entire time.
Is there anything left there?
Not in that building, no, but they saved the adjoining building, so we had a pretty good head start. As most fires do in rural areas, especially
Big
lumberyard
structure,
fires.
too.
Yeah, and we went to a couple of weeks ago with the Franklin. They had a 2-alarm fire. We went up there and covered their town while they fought their fire. And an unfortunate note, this weekend we had the dog on the ice, fell through the ice in the Merrimack River down by Hannah Dustin. By the time we got there, the dog had been swept under the ice and been there for 20-25 minutes, so it was a recovery. And that was a pretty sad situation. The family reached out to me today, appreciative of our compassion. They want to do something for us, and I just the card is fine. You want us with the card, so so that was just a tough situation all around. Still dealing with Hall Road. You know, they're trying. I think they're trying more to tell me what I want to hear than actually trying, but they are making progress. So,
Chief, how many times in 2024 were there false alarms?
the 7 and 11 the year after.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were all from non-maintained system.
Yeah.
So I tried to enforce the ordinance this year, but Kenny caught it on me.
so the ordinance was signed like in February.
So it was only 5
Gotcha.
calls after.
After it was signed.
So the 2 calls that we had before don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we sent them a letter telling them that they had reached the maximum,
Yeah.
just reminding them, send them a copy of the ordinance.
Yeah.
And asking them to try and work with their alarm company to try and
Yeah.
improve things for the next year.
Is it just false alarming or what's it doing?
Yeah, just,
Just like
alarm,
anything else, if you're not maintaining it, it's just, you know, it false alarms and it comes in and, you know, we go down there, it's one thing, but, you know, for a while they were telling the alarm company not to call us. So all night long, they're getting calls from the highway because the strobes are going off and then, you know, neighbors through the woods hearing it, so they weren't really being good neighbors that way. They were kind of not being responsive. So we're making a little progress, but we're not where I need to be. So.
Yeah.
Move it this way, a lot of them had a training burn last weekend on Route 106. We were there from 6 a.m. to 5 in the afternoon. We're fortunate many of our younger people get to do a couple of evolutions inside the burning structure, so that was very, very beneficial. And our annual member ceremony will be the first Monday in March 3rd. 6:30. I know you have meetings at night, but if you can swing by, the ceremony usually lasts under an hour, coffee and snacks after, so
Yeah.
we recognize firefighter of the year and other members for their tenure and promotions and all that stuff.
Lots of brass flying around.
Yeah, that's what it has, so. That's all I have unless you have any questions.
Thank you.
I think
Thanks,
so.
Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Oh,
Oh, yeah, so there's a call that I broke down. At one time, one of the past meetings, I was asked, you know, is it busier or certain months? As you can see, there's really no rhyme or reason. There's a couple of months here where we had close to 2 calls a month, and one month we had half a call a day, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you know, so there's really no rhyme or reason. That's our call breakdown by month. I've got even broken down to times of days, which are the hottest time of days and the types of calls and all that stuff. I didn't want to bore you, but I have that information if you're ever interested.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
I'm just putting the firefighter ceremony into my phone because if I don't do it now, it will not happen.
I'll be sending something out on them as well on email.
Okay, thank you. Don't forget to put it in the newsletter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm too late, right? I'm
No,
too
you're
late.
not. I haven't done it yet.
Oh,
Do you have
can I
something?
put the announcement, send that to you tomorrow maybe? Put the announcement for
Yeah,
March
tomorrow.
3rd?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, thank
Got
you.
it.
John?
Few weather events, ice, a little bit of snow.
Yep.
The new driver is getting a lesson.
You go down backwards somewhere or?
He was off the road quite a bit the other night. He's working on his CDL, there's a contract with Ken. We had a nice break in the weather, we're catching up on our oil changes, we use them, we break them, we fix them. That's pretty much where we're at. We had some sickness go through the dump, so highway's been covering the dump. And so therefore they didn't bail last Tuesday.
Gotcha.
Thanks for sanding on Saturday afternoon. I went out and looked at it and I thought I would call him maybe, but then next thing I know, there's a green truck going by. It's like, yes.
Sometimes we can do it right at the gates.
Yeah.
Has it worked out okay with you're still at 4 guys and 5 routes, right? Is that working okay?
Actually, it had a full crew last night,
Oh, good.
so, yeah.
Well, everything looked good this morning.
Big learning curve. They gotta learn the roads and
Yeah.
what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Good.
Class 6, road inspections for.
Oh, yep.
John did the,
Copy for
goes off twice a year. He did this one in December. The left column is the roads that he does, and the right column is whether they need work or not.
Okay. In looking at this list, we should take Wyven Road off, correct? Because we
Correct.
decided that's a private road, so John, you can.
Although it has a road waiver, so there are roads with road waivers
Really?
that are up for inspection.
Even a private road?
Yep, the road waiver specifies that they have to maintain it.
Oh, it's just
Gotcha.
inspection,
Okay.
so, yeah.
So this is a
These are not all the class 6 roads we have.
That's-
These are the ones we have road waivers for.
I understand, okay, that makes more sense.
Pretty much a list that I took over when I took over the job.
Okay. But it's really
But
class
there's more.
6 and privates
Class 6 and private.
with
yes.
road waivers, okay.
It could be road waiver list, I just,
No worries, just,
Yeah.
it helps understand
Yeah.
what we're looking at and why.
Are the roads that we're going to be dealing with next summer part of this list, or is that an
No.
additional list?
No,
Okay,
I'm working on class 5 roads next summer,
okay.
those are 6.
Yeah. And
But-
Hancock, John, that, right after you go in off Shaker, that first very steep section there looks okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. One of the few that were plowed the day that I went, because we had a 2-inch snowstorm.
okay, so somebody's.
The first house is plowing,
Okay,
whoever's in there
Yeah.
now, Jimmy left, so.
right, I
don't know
knew
who's in
that, yeah.
there. But he's plowing all the way down to Doug Pound's place.
Okay, good, good neighbor.
Yeah.
and I have the contract for the CDL
Yep.
class.
Yep.
There, it is signed by John, myself, and the candidate, Robert.
Okay. Now,
So-
somewhere in here,
You
there's,
Yep, the last page is your signature.
yeah,
And it states the amount of money and the duration of the contract.
okay. All right, anybody will look at that before we?
Ken, that needed a date on the first page.
I did that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You're right, that's the.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Where's he going, John, for the training? Who's doing it?
Concord, I hope.
Patton, and they have a place in Concord. It's,
Oh, there is in Concord?
there is in Concord, they have, and their field training place is right next to the Concord, transfer station.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that's where they do all their backing and all that
Up
stuff.
on Old Turnpike or whatever?
Yeah, you go up and you can, if you look in there, there's a big parking lot to the south of the
Yeah,
complex, and they have all the trucks parked there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to look tomorrow.
Yeah. So I sent him down to D&B, he's got his book, and he's
Good.
working for his
Yeah.
900-something question test he needs
Yeah.
to take.
900 questions?
That's what he tells me.
All right, he's eager to start?
There's an incentive in there for him to
There is.
get it.
There's also,
There's no question.
question for
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do that too.
John, when does he start school?
We don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that
okay.
yet.
They're gonna
Yeah,
give us,
it's February, I wanna say February 3rd, so, or 10th, no, February 10th.
okay.
So he needs to take his exam next week. And then that'll give him one extra week in case he needs to retake the exam.
All right,
We also have an application for another new hire, full-time. John and I interviewed him. He does not have a CDL. However, he has some mechanical experience, good background checks on him. Everything looks good. So with your permission, we'd like to hire him. His application is in your new business folder.
Do you think the incentive helped to get people to sign? Because this is 2 new people,
I
where there were
I
no
would
new
hope so. This person was a friend of Robert who started,
Mhm.
or an acquaintance, I guess. And so word of mouth, I guess, worked on this one.
good.
Very, clean driving record, everything looks good. Like I say, John and I interviewed him, he seemed like a pretty decent candidate, so we'd like to move forward with the
Good
process.
deal.
Okay.
I noticed he forgot to sign his application.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a few things that he forgot. We made sure that,
There's Danbury from here. That's gonna be a hike, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
45 minutes.
so we talked to him and he said, no, he's willing to travel, so.
Did we end up ever saying anything like, okay, if he's gonna come down, work for the highway department, he's plowing, it's lousy weather and he can't get back to Danbury, can he stay up at the?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We told that to everybody up there that there are accommodations for overnight stays if you need to, and,
And it's like last night, instead of going into the bunk room, because the police and fire department looked pretty nice and we're kind of, we had 3 hours that I told them lay low, do
Yeah.
whatever, and they just grabbed a chair and couch, whatever, out in the garage.
Yeah.
Did it that way. If we're gonna stay the night, it's a short break.
We don't have to sign anything, right?
Nope, nope.
Grand,
Everybody
that's
agree to
great.
move forward?
Yeah,
All right,
there was one other applicant, did that, continue? Or we just, is it
No.
Robert and this?
Just this one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will contact him and we'll move forward with the process. And then he'll be in at some point to meet you.
sounds good.
Grand.
Does that leave us with one position open then?
I don't,
There's something in the works.
yeah,
Good.
we're not sure what's gonna happen yet.
Okay.
There is still a position at the dump,
Right.
but that
Yep.
Saturday day is.
We're trying to work things out.
Understood. And we'll leave it all for now.
Yep.
Thank you.
Ready,
Thanks,
thanks, John.
Yeah, no questions?
No questions?
Thanks.
I don't think so, thank you.
Stay warm, sir.
The library director will not be in tonight.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. So,
Spend some money.
yep. I think that's. And we've got, is that Tom Franco coming in at 6?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got some time. All right, so why don't we sign?
All right,
All right, so first is a accounts payable manifest in the amount of $108,154.81.
So moved.
and seconded.
All those in favor? Aye?
There was a bond payment in there as well as payment for Primex. And then there's another insurance.
Okay. Is the Primex our,
Primex is our liability.
Yep,
property liability.
for the year though?
Yes, is that the Primex one for the year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
okay.
don't want to know.
Equal to 1,000, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that's so crazy.
Yeah.
And you know that.
Yeah,
Forever.
I do remember that part of it, so. All right, next is a payroll manifest in the amount of $51,972.42.
So moved.
And seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
This is the encumbrances.
I feel silly to keep asking this, is the Conservation Commission on there yet, for their rock burying?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep, I think
Yay.
if you read across there's one, there's 2 of them, the rocks.
Oh, yeah, large rocks.
Large rocks in the field.
it's so silly.
All right, I'll hand that
Can't
one
believe them, we
over.
have to bury them.
Really?
It's a long discussion I will not get into, but
Okay.
there are apparently reasons why you can't move them, you have to bury them.
Ken, do we need a motion on this, or we just sign?
Just sign.
Okay.
So those are just, that's money that's left over that has been revitalized and got invoices for.
All right, warrant for land use change tax.
Yep, and that is on Legend Hill Road.
That's what I was looking for.
Left on
I
budget.
think it was a parcel that butts the town of Loudon, parcel in Loudon.
Okay.
And they, was under current use and they broke some of it out. So that's what that's for.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there's, okay, I see Budget Hill Road.
Yep.
4.06 acres.
Was it Snyder?
No,
Stores, it looks like?
Stores.
Yeah. STORRS.
John Stores?
John Stores, yeah.
He just posted that, didn't he? Went by there the other day and it was posted.
2 places to sell.
Yes, that's just,
Does it say, how much the change, how much the taxes, changes the taxes on there?
I don't remember seeing it in, is it in there?
I think it is.
Oh, yeah. 15. It's right on the front.
Okay.
Conservation Commission.
Thank you. All right, next is a timber tax for 26 Briar Bush Road. They're gonna cut approximately 13 acres of a 15.64 acre parcel.
Oh, yeah. What, ever happens if somebody doesn't agree with our timber tax assessment? Do we ever hear back at this level, or does it just work its way through the system?
For, an intent to cut, it's kind of odd that you really don't have an option of signing it
Oh,
for an intent to
oh,
cut.
so this is just intended.
That's an intent to
Got
cut.
it.
Timber tax is, that's what the yield tax is. When you get a yield tax, and that's, based on what the assessor works on for, chips and stumpage and all that.
So that'll be after the
That'll
cutting
be
actually
after
happens.
the cut, yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, good on that. Alright, next is another land use change tax.
There's 439 Shaker Road.
Okay, the amount of $14,304 for that one.
We'll work on your signature stuff.
I think my pen may be running out of ink, actually.
Have one here.
I always bring a spare. Never wanna go to the cup of shame, so.
The couple, oh, over there.
Over there.
We're missing two signatures on the
Whoop.
second page.
Second page.
That's why I had those nice post-it notes there.
Oh, look,
No,
I
yeah.
had enough ink to do that one.
Always one for the paperwork.
Thank God. Better now than tomorrow or the next day or the next day. Somebody's gonna keep us in line.
Thank you, Cal.
All right. That one's done. All right, next item is a appointment slip to the Solid Waste Committee, Kim Scammon.
Ready?
I think we've signed everywhere we should. All right, next is a letter of support for Comcast. Letter of support for their application to the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. And I'll let each of you read the letter, but,
That is the BEAD, they call it the BEAD grant.
Yep.
That's an additional grant that came out, that there's funds available for. We still have a few addresses,
I was just
that
gonna ask
need
that.
additional funding.
Yeah.
Old Gilmanton Road is one of them
Okay,
that they've been working on. There's a couple of addresses up there that apparently they weren't on the state's list.
okay,
So they're gonna approach it through the BEAD funding.
okay, sounds good. Any idea total how many are left?
He said the state had like 37 houses, and he said there's no way there's that many.
Okay,
He felt it was like 6 or 7.
okay,
That's what Brian
Yeah.
thought.
very good. Because certainly I'd like to report at, since we talked about it last year at town meeting, I'd like to report on it this year as well.
Yeah.
As we get closer,
And, yeah, I'll make sure I check with him and we get some hard numbers.
yeah, exactly, people will ask.
So is this the additional BEAD grant or is it from the, you have one already
We
that
have
they were working on?
EMGI money.
Oh, okay,
This is another program, another government. program.
okay. I thought we had already supported that. but-
Yeah, we did, you guys did support the BMGI, and this is the additional funding.
All right, any further questions on that?
No, nothing.
All right, next is a training agreement between the town and the,
You signed that.
That's an extra copy.
That's an extra copy.
oh, okay. I knew
That
it
was,
was
that
another.
was the one.
Okay, so,
Sorry.
no worries, so.
You guys already signed it?
Yeah, I thought we did, but,
Yep, yep, all set.
all right.
Right?
All right, so I think that's the end of everything to sign, right?
Yes. We have one more thing that's further down, and I'll talk about that.
Okay, all right. Where do you wanna go next? Tom's here.
See if he's ready.
Yeah, Tom, you ready or?
I was gonna set up on the TV if I can.
I wanna do some minutes?
Yes, let's.
All right.
Cal, if Tom sets up on the TV,
It's fine.
that's what I was gonna ask, okay.
Yeah, I just have to get in the HDMI cable.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so why don't we start with the, January 6th, 2025 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Did you get my corrections on that? Or
I
They're not
did.
highlighted. For
For January 6th, the only one you had was a grammatical one, and
Yeah.
I disagreed.
Oh, then that's fine.
Okay,
I gave you permission to disagree with my grammar corrections, so that's
Understood.
fine.
all right, can I get a second on that motion then?
Yes, who seconded, Kid?
All those in favor? Aye?
Got it.
All right. That's the January 6th minutes. Moving on to the work session from January the 7th.
So that one has corrections.
Okay.
So one of them that, Beth, I disagreed with is putting, I didn't put last names for people except for when it was unclear who it was. So the attendance is at the top. So like for Kelly Short, Tom Franco, Briggs
Okay.
Lockwood, just to save space.
I thought that might have been your reason, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay, that's fine.
And then, so I didn't highlight them, but on line 118, there is a change. So it says, it is estimated that this could save 25% on tipping fees at the incinerator. It should change to, it is estimated that removing food waste from our waste stream could save 25% on tipping fees at the incinerator, just for clarity. And then the second change is on line 198. It says Unitil offers no interest loans to residents for these types of projects. Tom can check if they would offer that for this. Instead of saying that for this, it should say Tom can check if they would offer the same no interest loan to the town. Also for
Gotcha.
clarity. And then there's a few grammatical changes that I'm not gonna go over.
Okay. All right. And that's it, Cal?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else got anything?
There was one, where did we discuss, one second, just a little bit. I think I forgot to email it to you. It was just, again, clarity on funding the health insurance position for people at the highway department. And I think it said we need to make sure to fund, oh, wait a minute, I had it written down. It's not huge. It was just unclear. It sounded, it was confusing about why we were funding health insurance for two vacant positions. And, if it doesn't get in there, that should be okay. It was,
Line 207, the highway healthcare line needs to be
Yes.
adjusted to account for the two vacancies, not just the two who have already been hired.
yeah, when I read that, it gave me pause, and I was thinking it should be more like, the highway healthcare line needs to be adjusted to account for all
current
highway
vacancies?
possessions, including the two that are vacant. Or just to make sure that we're funding the two people there, and if we hire two others.
Say it again, Beth.
So, the way that I'm gonna change it is it's gonna say the highway healthcare line needs to be adjusted to account for all four positions, including the two that are currently vacant.
Do we need to say like, in case they get filled? Does that complete the thought? Because we have to account for them even though they're not filled, but they might be.
Right.
That was my last change.
Okay,
Cal, you
Thank
good?
you for finding
I
it.
am good.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right. That brings us to the draft minutes from the January 13, 2025 meeting at Sam Lake.
You haven't seen this before.
I was
I was just gonna say that.
Okay.
Yeah, don't look familiar, so let's just take a few minutes and.
Okay.
Cal, line 17.
Yep.
Actually, it starts on 16. At that meeting, the budget committee requested a 2% increase at most, so the increase still needs to be cut from 150 to 68,000.
Yes.
Okay, never mind then. I just want to make sure that the numbers were correct.
Though I would question whether they said 2% increase at most versus aiming for a 2% increase. It wasn't like a mandate that we had to.
Right. I would agree with that.
Alright, so I can change it to, the budget committee requested aiming for a 2% increase.
Yeah. And that number was correct too, 1.7 on the school?
Yep.
I went to the meeting, so.
And the last page of your new binders has that.
Perfect, thanks. And is that a correct wording, Ken, on line 27? Ken talked how he visited with every cost manager? Is that what,
Sure.
as opposed to department head, is that?
Well.
I'm just unfamiliar with that language.
Well, like the planning board, they're not a department head, planning board
Okay.
chair. So that kind of encompasses everything.
Okay. The rest of it seems fine to me.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Brandon, thank you.
Tom, you good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. This is not a new project. We applied for a grant last summer. We didn't get it. It's about putting solar on the municipal building in town. So the design was done. Our committee accepted that design. You guys accepted it. You accepted the library roof. The difference now is we're trying to fund it with already budgeted electric money, electric bill money. So I'm going to go through some numbers and talk about it, and basically the goal of this is to propose a warrant article for the project, and it's paid for with already budgeted money. So basically, why put the town buildings on renewable energy? We've been asked this a lot. Is solar really worth it? I went and crunched my own numbers for my own house. I looked up basically a case study in New Hampshire. Basically, if you took whatever amount you want and invested it in solar, in 25 years, you would get a 7% return on your money yearly. And besides that, solar is now the cheapest form of energy there is to build a new energy facility, other than hydro. So it's cheaper than nuclear, cheaper than oil, gas, coal. Those numbers came out in an EIA government report. So besides all, the carbon offset, all the wonderful green things that solar does, it makes economical sense. And I'll show you why when I get into the numbers. The project is a 60 kilowatt system. The town uses roughly 75, 80 megawatts per year. This system will provide about 75. And basically, we're looking for a $180,000 bond. With that, we would do the solar and provide some battery backup for that building, which we predict will offset some of the demand charges. I don't have numbers on how much of the demand charges will offset, but that wasn't built into my numbers, so that's basically gravy when we do that. So the system itself generates 12 to 14,000 a year, and that's conservative. That will make the payments on the bond, and it will cut that much out of the electric budget or more, and I'll show you how that happens. Over 25 years, the town's going to pay $875,000 in electric bills. With this project, you will spend $500,000, saving the town $375,000. There's no additional cost to the taxpayers. We'd be budgeting for this anyway. And you'll see as the years go on, the actual electric budget goes down. And so that's it. I calculated our savings at 7.9% yearly. So if we had took that money and invested it as a town, we'd be getting a 7.9% return.
If you could find something that would give you a 7.9.
That's right. So that's just a picture of the building. We had that last year. This is where the solar panels would look like on the building. That configuration could change a little bit because panels keep getting cheaper and higher energy output. So even though this was done last summer, we could have a reduced number of panels going up there to give us a 60 kilowatt system.
So this is the same picture we looked at when you came for the grant that
Yes.
we ended up not getting? Okay.
So I have the numbers in a spreadsheet, but I like the visual. If we do nothing as a town, we're about at 22,000 a year for electric bills. That number is gonna go up to about 46,000 in 25 years, based on for roughly a 3% increase every year.
Tom, for one
With
second,
the
is
solar,
that an increase in cost over the year, not an increase in,
the electric rates are gonna go up.
and it does that
So we're gonna have to
include our
budget
use?
higher amounts of money every year just for the same amount of electricity that we're using now.
All right, never mind if we go up. Okay, thank you.
And this was based on numbers I got from New Hampshire of the past 15 years, the rate of increase of electric rates. Probably 15 years ago, we were around 7 or 8 cents, 6 to 8 cents, and now we went all the way up to 15. Now we're back down to a little 10. So, I mean, these are rough numbers, but basically what you see, even with the bond payments, we're starting to save even in year one. So anything above 20 is a savings to the town. And then what happens in year 20 when the bond is paid off, then the budget goes way down. Now we're down around 15 or 18,000, and then it starts to climb again because electric rates keep going up. But you can see the difference. You're gonna pay less in 25 years with the solar than you pay now for electric.
Tom, what are we paying right now for electricity, community power?
What's that?
What are we paying right now with community power for electricity?
It's still around 22,000 a year. I added up the actuals.
What, per kilowatt?
Per kilowatt hour?
Yeah, isn't it around 8 cents?
I think it's 9.1 or 8.9, it's in that area. That's just for generation. The total cost is around I think it was at 22 cents, it's probably up to
You're talking for
23.
delivery plus,
Yeah,
yeah, understand, okay. What is the expected lifespan of the equipment?
everybody's telling me 40 years, but I did all my calculations on 25.
Okay.
Because the panels are guaranteed for 25.
Guaranteed by,
By the installer.
okay. We're having difficulty right now getting service on our solar panels here in town because there is no one to do any kind of warranty.
Right.
I have this similar fear if we move forward with this, that
Well, that would go for, when we go out for bids, we would make sure that they've covered maintenance for 25 years at least.
Well, it'd be a system based on a roof mount too, so it should be a lot more stable.
Yeah.
And did you calculate a break even?
I didn't. It's probably around 10 or 11 years, even though the bond has to keep getting paid.
Yeah. So you're suggesting though a warrant article in the amount of $180,000?
Right.
Clifton, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious, what's the pitch of the roof at the complex up there, the municipal complex?
It's different pitches, so they're using like the front roof of the police administration building, and then part of the connector building.
Yeah,
So they're all facing south.
southwest, yeah, southwest. Was
We
there
had a solar company come out and look at it, so
Oh,
they
yeah.
calculated what the energy output would be with all the panels up there.
And was there any discussion about perhaps putting the mounts in that open space area there? It's not feasible, too expensive?
It's more expensive, and running the electric lines to where they need to go from the open space is
Yeah.
a lot of money for copper and, trenching.
Makes sense, thanks.
So we could do that, it's just gonna be more money.
One other quick question. So somebody at the last town meeting, I can't remember, I think she was from Revisions Energy, I think she's on your board. She
Yeah.
talked about Canterbury had this surplus of like $180,000 through that Canterbury Community Power Program. Is that gonna be part of this? Cause I was under the impression that the town, we're getting all this, we're getting some money back. That money would be used for, say, this type of project.
We do have money, they were mistaken and they admitted it. Basically, there is a reserve that's coming from towns that participate in community power. Part of that reserve is held by community power because they have to budget for if they miscalculate numbers. We have a discretionary adder, and that money can come to the town. So we are proposing another warrant article to start bringing that money to the town, but it's on the order of $1,000 a month.
How much is in that account right now, John?
It's about 4,000. So every month we add
We just
1,000.
started last,
Started in August or September.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when the town okayed community power, I thought it was with the premise that every month there would be extra that would go into a fund that we could, as Clifton said, draw on for energy efficient projects.
There
right?
is,
But it's gotta be at more than $4,000 then.
that's right. But because we just did a 0.2 cent adder, we're only collecting $1,000 a month. That's what it adds up to.
Okay.
And we haven't set up the mechanism to start bringing that money to the town. So we're proposing a warrant article to do that, set up a capital fund to start bringing that money.
Okay, when were you planning to do that one?
That's in your warrant article.
Yes.
Okay, that answers that question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that would all be in arrears whenever we started, having the adder, correct?
Yeah, we would get the money that's there, and then any future money would just, I don't know if we have to keep requesting it, I don't know how that works, to get the transfers to happen. And you're right, that money would be used for energy-related projects. The trouble is, because the rates are fluctuating, we can't count on the adder to pay the bond. So that's why we calculated it with energy savings instead, because we can count on that. The panels are gonna generate so much money per year.
One question, Tom. So in 2024, we spent $9,400 on electricity at the municipal building.
Yes.
Do you have projections on what that would reduce to, based on the current rates, or?
I think it'll reduce at least in half, but and then the demand charges are on top of that, so.
Right.
I don't wanna promise anything, because I still haven't quite figured out how we're gonna deal with the demand charges, but I believe that we might cut another quarter of the bill off, so it could go down significantly. And if we do group net metering between all the buildings, then, we're getting the full electric rate deducted off the bills of the other buildings, rather than just the net metering rate. Yeah. So like I said, my numbers are conservative. I think there are places we can even save more money, depending on how this system is configured.
Do we have the wording for the warrant article, or haven't we just gotten there yet?
I believe it's in your package.
It's in your binders, in the warrant articles section.
As I said, the numbers on this aren't gonna be correct, on the numbering, just because I'm not sure how many of the zoning amendments is gonna be. So I think it is, I have it listed as 13, and I had it at 250,000, but certainly Tom said you were at 180, is that what you said?
I think we can do it with 180. In fact, the reason I picked 180 is because that's what the panels will generate. Because if you calculate 180 over 20-year bond at 3 or 4%, it didn't really matter. You come up with about $1,000 a month in payments. So if we borrow 250, the payments would be too high. So my idea is do the 180, squeeze in. I know we can do the solar for about 140 or 135, and that might even be cheaper now. And then the rest would be batteries and equipment related to the batteries.
Where will the batteries go, Tom? Where will they be stored?
They can go anywhere. I've been talking to electricians.
I guess specifically where in that building, where there's not much space, will they go?
So, don't quote me on this, but I'm just parroting what I heard from the electrician. They work with the state fire marshal.
Yep.
They can put them inside as long as it's surrounded by 2-hour sheetrock or whatever will prevent fire from spreading for 2 hours.
Yep.
And that's all they need to do. It's kind of just like a boiler, right? You gotta surround the boiler with fire-rated sheetrock, and a smoke detector. And that's really the only requirements.
So how many batteries and physically, how big is each battery?
I'm thinking a 20 kilowatt system, which could be 4 boxes, a little bigger than this.
Okay,
So, they're not that big.
yeah,
They're heavy,
yeah.
but they're not that big.
And then storage powers, what for how much for how long?
I'm just throwing out numbers, but I'm hoping to power that building in total for at least 5 or 6 hours. So that means during peak periods, you could actually shut the grid off and just power the whole building with batteries. You could do that on a daily basis and avoid those peak demand charges. if we wanted to go bigger, we could, but then we're hitting, the budget. I think 20 kilowatts is probably the number.
And battery storage is safe enough now? There's been issues or a big conversation about the technology for battery storage.
Yeah, there's different lithium batteries now that are less fire prone. Everything has a cost.
Yeah.
And now there's salt batteries that are even less fire prone, not at all. They're very safe. But I don't know if they're available, whether the local people that install them are familiar enough with those, so.
Scott, do you have any issues with batteries? I mean, I know the fire, if they do catch on fire, is a big shingle to put out, like when
So it depends on what they are. As Tom said, and he's absolutely right, there is new battery technology that's much safer. And certainly the fire marshal will be the final word on that.
Right.
But, assuming it's something you were,
I mean, you can mount them outside. They have less capacity in cold weather, like tonight. So, but you can put them outside, exposed to the weather, or even outside in another building. So if you're worried, concerned about fire in the building,
you could
we have
put
that
an
option.
insulated box outside,
Yeah.
close enough that you weren't running wires
Yeah.
too far.
I mean, they come in weatherproof boxes anyways.
Okay.
So.
I think for me, that's all I've got for questions.
Just a quick point on the July bond sale, the 20-year bond was 3.75%.
Yeah, I think I calculated my numbers at 4, so just to be safe.
Tom, can we get a copy of this emailed to us so I can follow the link and see this chart? Because that
Yeah,
chart right there,
yeah,
we don't have
I
in our
kept
packet.
modifying the slide that
Okay.
I sent.
That's fine, thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll send it. So that's all I had,
Okay.
unless there's any more questions.
No. Not me.
Cal, I don't know.
Just put it back in the laptop. It's on the right-hand side.
Oh, it is?
Thank you.
Well, it's great to have the numbers, Tom. Thank you for being conservative with your calculations and still have it look good.
Is it appropriate to make comments
Yeah.
or thoughts? I'm sorry, I wasn't here for the
You're among
presentation.
friends.
I thought it was gonna be at 6 o'clock, so I missed it, I'm sorry.
Tom got here a little early, so we got an early start.
All right. I think as many of you know, I work for Revision Energy. I also sit on the Energy Committee and the CCPC Committee, but I'm here speaking for myself tonight. I want you to know that we have a commercial solar and battery expert in town, and that's Rachel Eads. That's what she does for work. I also know that we all have been, and she works for Revision. We all have been, I know you all have been, aware of the fact that we have no one to maintain our current solar.
Yeah, we just talked about that, I think, just as you were probably walking in.
I would beg you, when you put this out for bid, to make it a requirement that whoever gets this bid has an operations and maintenance plan that in-house that we can get on that will not expire.
Yeah,
There are many people in town who have solar that they can't service
Yeah.
because not one company can do it all.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. And to your question about CCPC and the reserve, Scott, I think you were referring to the fact that when we first started this, we all thought that there was a big reserve that was
Yes,
coming after
that's it.
3 years.
Yep.
And we heard from CCPC that that was a misunderstanding on our part.
Okay.
there were those on the committee who thought that that was the case, honestly and truly. And I was not sure that that was the case. And we got a confirmation that that is not the case, and that the only money we're gonna get for that kind of expenditure
So we
is
really,
is the additional money that we put on a Canterbury Plus
Yeah.
yeah,
kind of
the,
thing.
right, the add.
So the more we put on, the more we'll get, but there's a limit to what we can do.
Yeah, and, right, and, I think, Tom, as we talked about when we looked at all this, you know, at some point, we may go back up to the Canterbury basic. But town residents would have the option to opt to granite basic,
Right,
to the cheapest rate,
right.
if they so desire. Now, that's where we are now, is at granite basic. But that's the part that I think we all have to be careful to make sure people are aware of, is that they have options. And I think that my memory is the first year that we did this, and opted for granite basic, I believe there were only 6 people in town that opted up out of granite basic. So I think human nature being what it is, people just don't take action. So, but now that's good to know that if we want to add to that fund, we need to go someplace higher than granite basic.
Yeah, and any projects we wanna do with that money
Yep,
should be based on the money we've already collected, not what we think we're gonna get.
understood.
In the future.
Yeah, and as we have seen with recent events, you know, it seems to be a fairly volatile market, I guess
Right.
I'd say, lately especially, so.
The adder stayed the same so far because we're teetering on the edge with the companies, so.
Exactly,
That's,
and I believe they know it.
yeah, so that's why
Yeah,
CCPC chose to keep that 2 mil
Yeah.
adder.
But we could still opt up if we wanted to, and I would
Yes.
think there would be, you know, if you put that out to the town, there's enough people, more than 6, that would vote to pay a little bit more. If a
Also-
little bit more was going into the fund to fund something.
Just so you know, I put in a request, and so did a lot of other towns, that the adder doesn't just go on Canterbury Basic, but every rate above that.
Ah,
So if you do green 50 or green 100, you would get the adder too. There's not that many people in town doing that, but there's other towns asking CPCC to do that, like put the adder on everything except granite basic.
I got you.
Yeah.
Concord did that. They voted in higher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And if I could,
please,
back to solar.
Yeah.
There are tier 1 solar panels and there are lower solar panels. I didn't have a chance to look at the panels I'm not familiar with the panels that they were providing. But you wanna make sure that it's a tier 1.
okay. How about the solar controllers themselves, Pat?
Yeah, I don't know as much about that. Rachel knows
Okay.
a lot more about that than I do.
So the idea here is the system size. We're not really picking equipment unless
Well,
we
you are.
specify it in our bid.
Yeah, you are by putting out a bid.
Yes.
You can require tier 1
Yeah.
equipment, and then you can be looking on a level.
Well, we'll look to you to make sure
Yeah.
the wording is right.
Yeah, well, if I can, I will, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, I assume the plan is you'll speak at town meeting on this,
Yes,
perhaps with some support from others?
yep, and if you see something that should be in these slides that's missing, that would help there.
I will make a
welcome any
suggestion,
feedback.
which is have all the details that we talked about tonight firmly nailed down.
Yep.
Because someone will ask.
Yep.
And it's better to say, you know, to have an answer than an I don't know or I think.
Yeah, I expect to have more information on the battery part of the
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, Yeah, 'cause
soon.
I think a lot of people will share Beth's concern.
Yep.
So having battery chemistry information would be a really good thing.
and on battery chemistry, I'm not aware of any sand battery that's available commercially.
Right,
There's still all of those iron batteries,
Right.
sand batteries, all of those much more common metals
Yeah, yeah.
are in the research stages
Yeah.
for something that is small. There are sand batteries for heat that you can use there.
All right, any other, yeah?
No, just kind of a side question, has there been any movement on CCPC to help the solar folks in town, to organize us to be able to take advantage of the rates that are being offered?
Not sure what you mean.
Well, it seemed like the people who had solar panels on their house and were already dealing.
Oh, the net metering.
The net metering, sorry,
Yes.
yes.
Well, that's an ongoing battle. I
Okay.
mean, they are pushing bills. The PUC is fighting them every step of the way. It's just a battle going on back and forth. So the State House is gonna get involved. I don't know how it's gonna end up. I do know a trend that California, New York are constantly ratcheting down their net metering rates. So eventually, it's gonna happen in all states. Basically, the higher the percent of renewable energy being provided by everyone doing projects, the lower the rates are gonna come down,
New
so.
Hampshire hasn't quite reached 2% yet, so I
Yeah.
think we're doing okay for not having to deal with net metering.
And
Not okay.
Personally, I think that's why batteries are gonna be important for the town and residents too, because when net metering rates come down so much, you wanna keep all the power you're making, basically, and use it. Like my house, for instance, I make 100% of my power, but I gotta buy back 50% of it every
Right,
day.
right, I know, me too.
So if I had batteries, I wouldn't be worried about the net metering rates.
Yeah.
I would just charge my batteries every day.
We'll let the town go first and see how it works. All right, thank you, Tom.
Any further action we need on that?
No, I think, when we discuss warrant articles, that would be the time to start, we can do some looking at numbers and everything.
Yeah, okay.
So as far as the presentation, I think.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Boils down to whether you guys think the town is doing it.
Right, and that's, as you know, as I think everyone, I hope, is aware, this is an extraordinarily bad year for taxes. People are really stung by their school taxes, and there will be a slight increase in town taxes.
Right.
So I don't know how this is gonna go.
Well, that's why I'm trying to make it clear that we're not adding to the tax burden at all. In
Yeah.
fact, even starting the year after this project's up, we're saving money. So I project we even save $2,000 the first year because the electric rates are gonna keep climbing. And even though, the town's already budgeting for electric, if it has no solar, that budget's gonna go up every year.
Well, we do have some solar, so.
Yeah, one question, Tom, I guess, if this was to pass at town meeting,
Yeah.
what do you think the projected construction timeline would be for a completion date on something like this?
It'd probably be the same timeline that we had for the grant, which is roughly about 9 months.
Okay.
By
I'm
the
just
time-
thinking,
yeah.
if it passes and then we bond the money, because they have bond sales in July and then in January. So it passes, we'd have to bond it in July,
Right,
and we start paying on it that following 6-month period. We pay every 6 months also.
okay.
So I'm just looking at, if you say it's a no tax impact, we have to make sure that that is more or less true, really has to be true.
So if it's approved in March, we would start the bidding process like
Mhm.
immediately.
Yeah.
And then hopefully starts construction by July or August.
Okay. All right.
Although,
That was my question.
yeah, we'd have to draw specs up as I think
Yeah.
Beth is suggesting.
I think July or August is really,
Yeah.
really optimistic.
It is.
Yeah, because you've gotta get the RFP out, you've gotta have responsive, you've gotta make a decision, you've gotta get on their calendar.
4 months isn't enough for
No,
I mean,
not for any
But,
construction project,
but
really.
construction could start in fall of '25, potentially.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, if we bond it, that means we're paying money on the bond. So we have to, if you say that it's no tax impact in
Right.
'25, that really has to be true.
Well, that's
Oh,
where,
you mean if construction
that's where the
doesn't start,
money
we're
from-
paying on
If
the bond, but we're not
construction, yeah,
making anything?
yeah, it doesn't matter when, if we take the bond out in July, there's some costs associated with it, which that's, you know, you have to talk to bond counsel and things like that. But we have to make a payment on that. There's an original, we have to make a first bond payment, so.
that's where the adder money could come in handy. We would have 6,000 or 8,000 by then in that fund.
So if we have, if that warrant article passes to get that cap reserve and take that money, we could use that.
Right.
Okay.
And then maybe replenish it later, I don't know. if we could.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
I'm
would
just
fill
trying to
that
make sure
gap between.
That if you stand up at town meeting and you say this,
Yeah.
that it's true.
It's gotta be true.
Yeah,
$180,000 in the reserve.
Right.
Well, I mean, 200, we had figured $250,000 for the original one,
All right,
and that's a $263 impact on a $400,000 house. So we just wanna make sure that those numbers work out.
Is there an opportunity to time the bond, or
You
they
can
just
buy
all
it,
come
you
in
can buy
July?
in July, you can do the bond sale in July, and then again in January.
Okay.
Those are the only time.
but what if you don't take the money in July?
If
Even though it's approved?
you don't, we would have to take it, if you wrote the warrant article that said, to raise and appropriate and the bonds, you could do it in January of '26. And have your construction company all set up and start work. I mean, maybe you could use that $5,000 as a down payment, start it, I'm not sure. I don't know how the companies work,
Right.
what they wanna do.
I was gonna ask that, once the article is approved, we go out to bid, we choose a bidder, would we at that point be expected to make an initial payment in order to guarantee our spot on their schedule?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that we could make calls even now to ask what the normal process is with them, so we know that in March.
Beth, any idea how far out they're booking on larger projects like this?
I don't know. That's not the work that I do, so I'm
Yeah.
not familiar.
I think every company would.
But
be.
it's not a, you know, this would probably, I mean, for us, it would probably be self-performed, so it's our crews.
Yeah.
But, I don't know how far out.
I mean, when I went out, I just got a quote for the grant when we did that. And I said it wouldn't be approved till March.
Right,
And how soon could you start after that? And they said April.
but you didn't
Yeah, but-
spec the panels or the controllers, right?
They did. They spec'd everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the specs were though?
I have it all,
Okay,
yeah.
I think we're hearing good advice here as to what we should be looking for in our equipment, and we should
Right.
take that advice. So, and if we have an expert here in town who can kind of back that up and maybe even give, you know, more advice along those lines, I think we should avail ourselves of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So does timing wise, it make sense to buy the bond in approve it at town meeting, but not get the bond until the following January, and in the interim, lock in the prices and make a down payment with the adder money, is that what I'm hearing?
Guess it would depend on the company and what the.
Yeah, I think we need to
construction
get those
timeline
details
and all that.
Yeah.
One thing that floats out there is the 30% tax credit. We don't know how long that's in, and it's supposed to go until 2032.
Yeah, I'm not
But
counting
we
on
don't
it.
know that will happen.
Right, right.
Well,
My
that's not in your
calculations
calculations.
don't count on it.
Okay.
So that 50,000 would come back to the town.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all.
I think that information in that last chart with it would be very helpful. Thank you.
All right.
All right, where are we headed next?
Let's
All right.
see. I think under new business, we have a land use application procedure.
Yeah.
So I had sent this out, you've seen the draft of it,
Yes.
a couple months ago.
Yep.
I sent it out, to the land use boards, and got some feedback from the land use administrator. That was it, and they said it's okay, so, and I had sent in my email that you guys would be either reviewing it or, making changes to it tonight, so here it is.
All right,
Is that the one that was in our email?
he's the one.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, if you wanna read it and then I'll
Sure.
take a look at it.
Well, I've read it already, so there's no changes.
No changes since I sent it out in, December, first
Yeah.
of December.
But we also just got another copy of it in our, you just emailed it to her, correct?
I
That's the same
believe I
thing?
did, I
Okay.
sent it to you just as a reminder.
Yes, thank you.
You ready to sign this, or?
And again, that's just an application process for when someone comes in for an application for land use boards. That's how it is processed.
Gotcha. All right, what about the next item, class 6 road inspections?
Did
Was
that.
that what we did that with John?
We've got the highway applicant approval, we've found old business escrow for planning board legal costs.
All right,
I received a few emails from the planning board requesting process for escrow on projects that, by private contractors. And so we've contacted other towns that have this policy procedure. Jan, our land use administrator, was out today. I have all the information and we're gonna look at it, try to review it and take care of that this week. So, we'll hopefully get that done and I'm gonna check with the attorney just to make sure that is just a policy procedure, that it doesn't have to go to town meeting.
yeah,
Some towns have it as part of their, land use rules. So we'll have to look at that and see, get some advice on that.
questions? No?
No, we were just waiting for more information on that primarily, so.
Yeah, like I say, Jan and I are gonna review what, other towns have and then send off a couple questions to council and then hopefully have an opinion on that.
Yeah.
Probably have more questions when that all comes back.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, accessible voting system costs we talked about with Sam already.
Yep.
That brings us to 2025 budget and warrant articles.
We did the voting,
Correct.
all
Yep,
right?
that was with Sam.
Yep.
Good time. Well, I think that's about to come to a screeching halt. Just saying. All right,
Okay, so in your package, you have the, verbiage for the warrant articles.
yep,
So we will start at the top.
Yep.
Which is the operating budget. As it stands now, $3,469,958. Let me just double check my numbers here. I believe you have that in your budget folder.
that's what I'm going to double check right now.
You have 475?
475 now.
All right,
All right.
Okay.
Snafu number one.
You, all right, so I could change this. I base this off of the, where did I get this?
So where are you seeing the total, where is that?
Page 11.
Page 11. All right, so it's off the page.
This one is the 15.
Mine is the 16th.
16? Sort of trust your judgment on this one, because you're the one that's putting the numbers together.
Well, I think this was, you sent me one on the 15th, and I put it, I think the difference was the disability insurance.
Oh,
lines
yeah,
that
let me
added
look
in.
through,
I remember
I
there
was
was a
gonna
couple.
say,
I think
yes,
that's the.
I have,
6,000.
disability, yep,
Yeah,
yep, that's it, it's a disability insurance, okay. So what is the new number?
so the new number is $3,475,908.
8, all right.
So, Cal, I don't know if you've calculated in, what percent of increase is that?
So that is the one that you have printed in your binder, and
Yep.
that's 4.6% increase. An increase of $152,455.
What was the final number, the 3 million?
Three, it's on page 11.
Yes.
It's at 3,475,908.
Yeah. So just, I guess, for clarity, and timeline on this, what you decide tonight will be posted. We're posting for the public hearing on the 3rd. That posting has to be sent to the paper, by Wednesday, deadline. We'd like to get it actually tomorrow if we could, but
Yeah.
I know we scheduled a meeting tomorrow night if we had to have one.
Yep.
But that posting has to go to the newspaper. And once we send that posting to the newspaper, we will post those budgets on the website, put the budget and the warrant articles on the website. And physically at the town office, the library, the store. And those numbers will not change until the public hearing on the 3rd.
Right.
If we find a mistake, if something happens, if whatever, that can be changed at the public hearing, but not until then.
Understood, yeah.
And if things are changed at that public hearing, we will have to have another public hearing to notice that there have been changes to the proposed budget and warrant articles. And, so we have to have a second public hearing.
Yeah.
And there's time?
Pardon me?
Is there a time between
There is,
the?
there's a
Just
deadline
enough?
for that. I don't have the deadline here, I think
It'll be
it's,
the second.
yeah, the second meeting in
Select board
February. We have enough time to do that.
Okay. Well, that's why we pushed it, did the
That's when
public
we
hearing
start
to
on
the
the
3rd.
first meeting, yes. Yeah. So what you decide tonight.
Yep.
And potentially tomorrow night is what is going to be posted.
Yeah.
February, it's.
So does anybody have anything else? I mean, we all went over it line by line. I went over it again, as I'm sure you both did. Is there anything else anybody wants to change in this budget?
Oh, budget, not warrant articles, okay.
Budget,
Sorry.
right. This is the operating budget.
Yep. And
Can you show me the library's fine with their money?
Yes, yeah, I met with the director last week, I went through that, and they reduced their budget by $1,500, their operating budget. Not the trust budget, but the operating budget.
which was helpful.
Every little bit helps.
Yep.
Being the new kid on the block, is there anything here that jumps out at you that would?
Nope.
It all looks like a lot, but
I
we
think-
walk through it step by step, but is there anything in addition that thinking back
No, I think as I said at the work session last week, I think, you've done your due diligence, gone line by line, and you've done the best you could. And that's what you can bring to the residents at the town meeting.
Well, I think, kind of what they said at the school budget hearing was, it seems to be a responsible budget. It's not over the top, we made cuts where we could. There are still some things in here that we want to keep and should keep as a town. I mean, we didn't have to give a donation to CASA, but that's important. So we kept some important things and we cut where we could, and if starting at wherever we were, 5.3, and aiming for 2 got us here.
Actually, I think we started up more on
It's at
Seven.
7.2.
Yeah, so that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of the big line increases have been wages, but that is the response to the market. If we don't, we found out that if we don't pay our employees, then we're not gonna have it.
Well, and if we got, all of a sudden we have 2 new highway applicants where we had none, if that's part of it,
I hope we do.
Yeah.
Really, we need them.
these
Whether,
all,
for the winter, obviously, but also, we've got a big project coming next year with our dirt roads, so we need workers for that as well.
well, what I was impressed with is that for every line in this budget, either you or our department heads could point to it and say, this is why that's that number. And, maybe this number looks a lot, but we're going to get something back. Or maybe this looks like a lot, but we're going to get a grant. Or maybe this looks like a lot, but we only bought 1 tire last year, and that's not reasonable. So I think that everybody weighed in, or were made to weigh in. So, far be it from me to say any of these numbers are not good enough.
And as you can see, the revenue offsets are $103,000 out of that. So that 152, 455 increase. Out of that increase, $103,000 are revenue offsets. So that helps there.
Yes, it does.
I mean, the revenue offsets help the entire budget, but
Right.
it softens the blow a little bit for that increase.
Yeah. Unless anybody's got anything else?
We gonna vote on this, or how's this work?
Nope, at the public hearing, the warrant articles will be read aloud, and you will ask for input, and then you will make a motion on them as they come through. Moving down to the next warrant article, which is deposits to the cap reserve account. The total is $88,000. Highway equipment is 10,000, the highway truck is 30, rescue truck is 12, landfill closure is 1, maintenance and repair of town buildings 5, and the highway loader is 30,000. We did take the grader that we bought, we had been putting $30,000 towards that, and we took that out of there this year. The one deposit that's not in there, I know the solid waste committee had requested some money. I think they're backing off of that now. So at this point, this is the cap reserve deposits as we have.
Anything on any of those?
The only thing, I had talked to you guys at one point about repairing the sash that's in the town hall. The window dresser units that we put in have made a huge difference. And I don't know if you want to tackle a couple windows a year or do them all at once. Because I think that's the last piece of the puzzle that we need for that building.
Do we have any idea what it might cost?
I don't, I have found some place they can do it over Warrant, and I can certainly ask them, I hadn't asked them.
I contacted the place over in Deerfield Historical Society too, but I haven't heard back from them. Because they're doing a huge town hall renovation project, and they've got, you think our windows are big, oh my gosh, theirs are like twice the size, but, I haven't heard back from them either. It's hard to know what we might put in there if we don't have an idea of what it might cost.
Yeah, and I don't know, if you only did a couple a year, I'd almost say that you'd wanna put that under building maintenance or something like that. It's not like you wanna do a warrant article for a couple $1,000 a year or something like that.
That's probably what's going on, I would guess.
And I don't know, and we do have a building maintenance cap reserve account, that we put $5,000 in, but that is really for emergency stuff. Like we have to replace the water softener up at the municipal building, and that's gonna be $32,000. So the plan was to take some money out of that to do that. I mean, $3,200.
Everybody's heart.
Sorry. And then, we did some repairs to the solar panels.
Right.
And so we took that out of there too. Right now, there's 25,000 in there, but again, we use that for kind of the emergency stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the floor that we put in over at the town hall, that's $7,000. We did a interfund transfer for that.
Yeah.
So, and that warrant article, if you look at that language to establish that cap reserve account, it was for that, the emergency type things.
Yeah.
So for something like that, I'd say building maintenance.
Is there any way it goes under a historic is there any line item for historic buildings versus just town buildings?
Just,
What did we do when we did the floor in there, when we sanded and sealed and
that was a warrant article.
renovated? That was a warrant.
Yeah, and that one should be, I would think another year maybe. They talked about coming back and giving it another coat.
And we have budgeted 2,000 in there for maintenance for that building. And we spend, I don't know, $300 or $400 to have the furnace every year, cleaned and inspected. And then,
Thanks, Becky.
you know. So I don't know, it's up to you guys. If you get some prices, we may be able to, under that maintenance line, afford that, depending on what they cost.
Yeah. I would say prices first, yeah.
Can you get prices?
Well, the other thing that we need to figure out somehow is who's gonna do the work, and get some idea from them too. I don't know what.
So again, we need some prices to determine whether we can afford that under the current budget.
Yeah, so if you got somebody that's reputable.
I was looking at maybe Calvin or one of those guys.
Yeah, as opposed to the place in Warner or in addition to?
No, this is just getting them out, putting them back in. They're gonna clean them up, they're gonna reset the glaze, they're gonna paint them and all that. Somebody has to take them out, take those window dresser things out and get them out, and then put the window dressers back in. Get the windows over to Warner and then get them back in again. So they're a mess. I mean, you can look through the top of one side of them.
Well,
If you give me some estimates, I can tell you whether we have the money or not.
I can get the one from Warner, I'm pretty sure, without much trouble.
Okay.
Yeah, we can go from there.
All right.
Okay, on the deposits to the cap reserves?
Yep.
yes,
Okay, moving down to the next one. This is the Gold Star bond, and this is the last year.
Yay.
It's $35,874.
well, we can't dispute it, so.
The next one is to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,000 for the purchase of a ballot counting device. This is the ballot counter that we thought we were gonna buy 2 years ago, and we couldn't get it, it wasn't approved, and so we had it in the operating budget, we took it out, and this year we decided to do it as a warrant article.
Yeah. Who's gonna explain all that, one of us or Sam?
Yeah, I think, typically, you know, Jim will read this
Yeah.
off. This is a fairly, I think, benign one.
Yeah.
You could, one of you guys, and
Okay,
Sam will be there for technical.
right.
If there's questions that you guys don't know how to answer, then I'm sure Sam will be
Yeah,
more happy to
okay.
I mean,
answer.
$7,000 is $7,000. Somebody will say, well, what happened to our old wooden box and people sitting and counting it? So what's the answer to that? We still have the old wooden box. It still comes out on occasion, but this is a ballot, someone will ask that.
So
It's a
I
lot quicker, it's more accurate.
guess I would defer that to the town clerk
Mhm.
and maybe the moderator.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
And maybe the supervisor checklist.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll all be there and,
That's fine by me. That's exactly who should answer that.
All right.
the next one is the raise and appropriate $80,000 for the renovation of Sam Lake House garage. Withdraw funds from the capital reserve account created for this purpose. We don't have 80,000 in the capital reserve right now. So we would have to, reword that to say, let's see.
Because we have to accept this year's funds still, correct?
Correct. So Sam Lake House, we have, at the end of '24, we had 72,369. We've been getting, on average, $12,000 from the Sam Lake Trust. So we would reword it to withdraw probably 70,000 from the cap reserve, and then raise and appropriate 10,000, and that would be offset by the deposit or the interest from it.
So really a no impact.
So it would be a no tax.
Yeah.
Can we put that at the end of each thing before?
What the tax impact is gonna
Yeah.
be, we can add that to this, yeah.
I would, because especially in a year when tax impact seems to be on everybody's mind, to me, that's a good thing to know. And I've seen that added before.
Yes, other towns do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we just need to note of that.
Because I think that's an important consideration.
Will the DRA get mad at us about what we put for tax impact? Like, when they get to, because I know that the DRA is gonna make us word this funny because we won't have the money, the full amount until July.
We will have to write there's a tax impact to this,
Yeah,
but we would have to explain at a town meeting that in all reality, there isn't.
right.
Because,
Well, the tax rate,
Yeah, I mean,
is set, the
yeah.
tax rate is set on the budget.
Yeah.
And, which includes the warrant articles. So if we don't have the money today, then we can't use that money that we are 99.9% sure we're gonna get to offset the tax rate.
can't offset it till you have it in hand.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would have to show a tax impact.
Okay.
But again, that can be explained at town meeting.
Okay.
The next one is to see if the town will vote raise the appropriate the sum of $20,000 for the purpose of weatherization of the Elkins library.
This again would be another presentation by Tom Franco and company.
You better not get sick that day.
Please do not.
Again, it shows saving 50
Yeah.
to 70,000 over a 20-25 year period.
Yeah.
So it's a payback on that 20,000.
Yeah. Stay healthy, my friend.
And, again, we're raising that, or is there grants associated with that? I can't remember.
That is raising it.
That's
That's raising it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, okay.
Yep. And
And again, I I should be able to announce a lower amount at the March meeting, but I don't have it now. Because I'm waiting on RBG and Unitil to tell me how much they're gonna contribute to the project.
Gotcha.
So that's the full cost of the project. I know they're gonna contribute something. And the range I got was 5 to 35%. So,
So the warrant article
Great
is,
job.
yeah, really, so the warrant article is for the full amount of $20,000, but there's a possibility or a probability we're going to be getting some of that.
it'll get
back.
reduced, I just don't know if it's by 5% or 35.
So if we
Something
raise
in
to
between.
appropriate it and then we don't need all of it, how does that work?
So if Tom wants to change, if he has the numbers at town meeting, he can amend this for,
Oh, from the floor?
from the floor.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Or you guys could do it.
yeah,
uh,
either way,
Yeah, I
Either way,
think
it
I'll
can be
have it.
amended.
yeah,
I'll have it firmed up before that, I can get it to
Okay.
everyone,
Okay.
so they know what it is.
that'd be great.
Well, that always sounds great to stand up and say, well, we're asking for
Right.
$20,000, but guess what?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The next one, vote raise appropriate the sum of $60,000 to replace the existing packer with a stationary electric compactor with VFD, a compaction container, and the installation of a concrete pad. And that is the exact wording from the petition warrant article. And again, this is a petition warrant article. I did put on here, not recommended by the selectmen. Again, I've added these recommended, or not recommended.
Mhm.
If you want to change them, that's tonight,
Right,
we have to make this decision.
so this is the electric compactor that requires three-phase power, which is not available at that site.
And the concrete pad that can't be built, apparently. Correct.
No, it's questionable about the site work, yes.
Questionable, okay.
Right. And then somehow we'd have to transport the compacted materials in a vehicle that we don't have. So,
Driver we don't have.
and the driver we don't have, exactly.
So,
Okay,
that's easy.
The next one, vote to establish a cap reserve account for the purpose of purchasing voting equipment. Appoint the board of selectmen agents to expend, and deposit $5,000 in this said fund. So this was, the conversation that we had earlier tonight with Sam.
Yeah.
About the, accessible voting equipment that the state has mandated that we have. They're letting us borrow theirs now, but it's uncertain on how long that's gonna last, and
yeah,
so, the next one is, vote to establish renewable energy cap reserve fund, under the provisions of RSA 35(1), for the purchase of renewable energy systems to raise appropriate sum of $2,000 to be placed in said fund. So this is the one that the community power had asked about. And again, this is to establish a cap reserve fund. And this is what those adder dollars could be deposited into.
Yeah.
And it names the board of selectmen as agents to expend. I think as the, I guess, the business manager, financial manager of the town, that this is a good idea to do. This gets the money, and not that there's a concern that CPNH has any issues, but I think it's a good idea to have that money into the town fund where the town can use it at their discretion for these purposes.
Yeah.
What would you do with it otherwise? I thought it was pretty restricted about how it could be used.
As, you know, it would be restricted to the language of the warrant article.
right. So renewable energy systems.
It does not say what it can be expended upon, should it? I mean, it should, where does it say?
It says for the purchase of renewable energy
Purchase
systems.
of renewable
okay.
energy systems.
Got it.
Yeah. So $2,000, Tom, that does not represent the entire amount though, right?
Well, the way I read this is the town's putting in 2,000,
That-
and then the adder will get put in on top
Exactly,
of it.
that's what this
Okay.
says.
This is to establish.
This would be
Very good.
raised by taxes, the $2,000 would be raised by taxes, and then any money from the adder
Yep.
would be deposited in, so.
Right.
Does it have to be 2,000 if it's
It
just
could
to?
be $1,000, it
just
could be
to
$100.
I mean, if it's just to establish the fund.
Yeah.
And we're looking for places.
Yeah.
To save $1,000, can we just say 1,000? It's not gonna
It's up to you guys.
really make a difference, right?
We'd like it to be 200,000.
Oh. Dream on, Mr. Franco.
Exactly.
I mean, if it doesn't matter and it's just to establish the fund, I mean, we've established funds in the past with just putting $1,000 in it, haven't we?
Yeah, 1,000 is fine.
Yeah.
It's just getting it established.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just a matter of just changing it, or?
Oh, okay, you did.
Yeah, it's right there on the next page.
Which
I figured it was.
Yeah.
I was just looking at it.
Yeah,
So do you wanna cut that back to 1,000?
Yes.
yes,
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Alright.
I think that's a good,
if it's
I-
just,
I
I
realize
thought that
it's-
was to accept the first $2,000 from the adder,
yeah.
but if it's just to establish the fund.
Okay.
Seems like a,
Alright,
okay,
and the next one is the one Tom
Yeah.
talked about. We cut that from 250 to 180.
Yeah. And more to follow on that as well.
Yeah.
grand.
And then the next one is authorize you to accept up to $15,000 from the Forest Distribution Fund of the Sam Lake Trust. That is something we have to do every year now.
Yeah.
Because the DRA has forced us to do that.
Can I ask why it says up to $15,000 to establish this, is that the DRA that establishes that amount?
That was an amount we came up with. The DRA said we have to have an exact dollar amount. But because we don't know what it's gonna be, we just looked at, well, it's been in the like 12,000
Yeah.
range, so 15,000 should be a reasonable,
Unless the stock market goes crazy,
yeah.
we should do so. We should be, yeah.
What would happen if it was more?
You would have to do like a public hearing, I think, to accept it, or,
Yeah, so
yeah.
So if we do not accept this money, then there is a tax penalty. And we lose the money, so to speak.
Well, that would be bad.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it has to be used on that common.
it has to be used on that property.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Okay.
And then the last one is the Household Hazardous Waste Day for $10,000. We took it out of the operating budget and put it as a warrant article.
And who will speak to that?
Rich.
Rich?
That is all I have for warrant articles. We took the waste oil burner out for the garage. We just didn't have enough information to share.
Yeah.
So hopefully next year.
And Tom, what was that called? I was trying to think of what you called it.
CHP.
CHP.
Yeah, I did more research on that today. There really isn't a commercial available product yet for waste oil. There is for gas, propane, but not for waste oil. You can get the waste oil furnace
Right,
or boiler,
right.
Yeah,
but not power generation.
well, yeah, I did a little looking today and I came up with everything as far as heat, but nothing with electricity.
Yeah, I made some
And then I
calls
couldn't remember
today.
what it was called. Okay,
So if you guys wanted to get a waste oil furnace or boiler, there's a distributor up in Maine that handles this area. So that would be one place to get a bid.
This one was from Littleton, New Hampshire. We have a proposal from the place up in Littleton, New Hampshire.
Okay.
it was not the issue of transporting, where does it go and transporting the oil and.
Yeah, so I talked to the road agent about this and his plan was to use, well, if you've seen the big plastic bins up there with the steel cages on.
Yeah,
His plan was to use one of those, put it in the back of one of the 550s, transfer the fuel from the waste oil from the transfer station into that with a transfer pump, and then drive up to the municipal building, and then use the transfer pump to put that into the holding tank there. And that would, there's no lifting of a full barrel or anything like that. It's a transfer pump. That's what they're doing now, more or less,
Right.
with a private person that comes in there and uses the transfer pump. So the chances of a spill are greatly reduced. Or we could put a waste oil burner in that facility there and just put it out on the floor and blow the heat around in the building and,
We heat the bathroom for them?
well, we'd have to build a bathroom.
Yeah, well, of course, that would be something else. The one thing I would question about those tanks and cages, are they double walled, and didn't you need to have double walled tanks to
I
transport
don't
oil?
know, I know I know a lot of them are single wall. I'm guessing you could probably buy a double wall. I'm not sure.
Okay. And of course, the ones that they haul sap around in, I would think would have to be different for waste
I
oil
would
because
guess, yeah.
of the corrosion factor. I don't know how corrosive used
Well,
motor
most of
oil
the
is.
plastic, so I don't know
Alright.
if there's any,
Okay.
yeah. But we took it off the board for this year.
It's just off there anyway,
Yeah.
okay.
That's all I have for warrant articles.
All right, do we know anything about how was the special meeting today? And did anything come out of it as far as other warrant articles we might see from the?
Solid waste.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, he was gonna talk to Ken and see about,
Yeah,
they would like to use that 6,000, whatever number that's in the transfer station account to look at engineers' reports on what we can do up there. That's what we discussed.
Yeah, so that, Rich was, I told him I'd have to send a note to our attorneys to make sure, because that cap reserve account was changed 2 years ago to say upgrade of the transfer station.
Yeah,
I just wanna make sure that, that money can be expended for, yeah, I would think logically, yes, for a consultant or engineering report on the facility, whether it's feasible to use it or not, or upgrade it. But I would wanna just make sure that that's,
but we don't know even what an engineering study would cost.
you do not. You do not.
Boy, I'd sure like to see a number for that before we said, let's throw $6,000 at it, but,
It's not being thrown at
I'm-
that, it's
well, you
being
know.
set aside to be used in that payment.
yes, that I understand.
Well,
But I just think it would be nice to know, is an engineering study $6,000 or 20? If we're trying to be responsible with our money, that would be a good thing to know, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
If we can get that number, great.
Yeah, I think we should get that. What we said, and include scope of work.
Because that's what the budget, that's what we discussed at the budget committee.
That is correct.
And that should be a number that's gettable.
Okay, all right, anything else?
Not unless we have something in the mail that we don't know about.
We do need to go into executive session.
Yes, yes, we do. Ken, we're going into executive session, so need a few more minutes of your time. All right. Folks, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you for working through it all.
Thanks for listening.
While we're still.
I already have that.
Thanks, Chris.
Glad to be here. It was, they offered me so easy to get here.
Recording stopped.
Ed, are you all set? Fred? All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we turn into executive session per RSA 91A3:3, sub 2C.
second.